What's going on, guys? Thank you guys so much for coming to hang out on tonight's podcast. Today we're going to be going through a number of things that I bought and I sold at the local auction that just took place yesterday. I'm really excited to share all the different exciting things that happened yesterday. Really getting to know a lot of the people in my local area, recognizing faces. Some of them are good friends that I've seen a couple times. I plan on hanging out with them a little bit more. Like, Ant, we got to hang out, man. He sold a whole bunch of 1-ups. We'll be talking about that today. How much did he get for his arcade 1-ups? Why? I was thinking about it today. I should just bring him on. Like, hopefully he's in the live chat. But we should do like a podcast together. That'd be really cool. He's a local guy. He's here in the community all the time as well. And I was thinking about it last night. I was like, he's kind of my friend. I was gonna text him. I'd be like, dude, I had like a really good time. We were just like hanging out at the auction all day yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Anyway, so we'll talk a lot about some different stories. There was something. Hopefully, someone in the chat will remind me. Maybe I need to write this down. I'm gonna write this down so I don't forget. The scary thing that the arcade guy told me. Scary thing. I'm gonna write down the scary thing the arcade guy told me. All right, I'm gonna remember it here. So real quick, I'm gonna run through all the things that I sold, just so I can keep track of it. And don't want this to be clickbait. I just want to give you right to it. So I sold a class of 1981 Galaga arcade. This is a Ms. Pac-Man Galaga reproduction. Had a Dell 2007 in it. I sold that. Legends Pinball, a Robotron reproduction. I don't know what this is. It says 2 arcade. The Star Wars Virtual Pin, Pac-Man stool, and Gumball. A Gumball machine. And I got my money back on that Gumball machine. So, like, I was a real consignor on this place. I sold a ton of stuff. I will talk about it. How much did I get a check? I got a check, actually. I got a pretty good check. $1,500 is what I got cash after it was all said and done. $1,599, actually. And I bought something as well. I was able to sell some things. Like I sold the Arcade 1-up Star Wars virtual pen for $280, I want to say. I sold it to Ryan Berger, you know, the guy who runs the Old School Gaming magazine. That was so fun. Like, he's bidding on it and I'm bidding on it too, because this auction, the way it works is you bid on your own item. That way you can kind of get your minimum amount. Like, they don't do like a reserve or anything like that. They allow you to bid on your own item. And I was hanging out with Ant there, and I'm like, dude, you got to bid on your own stuff. Like, don't be shy. Like, because if you have a price in your mind of how much you want out of it, if you buy back the item, you can buy back the item, but it's not like you're going to pay yourself. So they just have a small fee. I think it's like $20 if you buy back your own item. And he did buy back one item. And I talked to him. I was like, how much would you pay for this 1-up that you're selling? And he goes, maybe like $150. He's like, I really just don't want to, like, I just don't want to bring them home. And I was like, then bid it up, man, bid it up. And he did. And once he got that minimum, he's like, let it ride. Dude, the Defender, I want to say the Defender went for $200. He had a Defender arcade 1-up. I think it went a little bit above 200. And the guy that bought it, I think he has like 30 Star Wars. Sorry, JJ, I was reading your pin about the $280 for the Star Wars virtual pin, and it got me confused. Let me know what auction this is so I can stay away. Nice, Messiah. Okay, so yeah, this guy owns. His name is Jay, and he has 3 floors in his house, and in his top floor is an attic, and he has all 1-ups in there. He says about 30 of them, and he actually bought my Simpsons. So on top of everything that I told you about that I consigned, this is that consigning paper that I got at the end of the day. Right before I went into the auction, I had a Simpsons, and I know this guy Jay. I've chatted with him. I think I've been to the auction for at least, it's 3 or 4 years that I've been going to the auction. The first few years I went, but I was too shy. I didn't buy anything, nothing. But I've seen him always there, and so I got to know him, and so I knew he had a lot of 1-ups. And I was like, what you gonna do with it? And he's got kids. And I know the story. His kids love the 1-ups, and he buys the 1-ups so they don't play his real arcades, so they don't put extra work on it. Anyway, let's get into it. Let me show you some exciting stuff from the auction, some things that blew me away. We'll talk about essentially what I traded my Star Wars virtual pin for. And if you came just for the clickbait title, don't worry, I'm going to get to what I sold my Star Wars virtual pin to. I'm not going to say, it's not going to be at the end of the podcast. It's going to be in the next maybe 5 minutes. Like, let me tell you one story. Let me give you one story that I think is really cool. And then I'll tell you what I traded my Star Wars for, what I bought, what I took home. I show you some pictures of it. And then I want to tell you some more stories. Stick around if you want to hear some extra ones. So before we get into that, I want to say hello to those in the chat. We got JJ. He was curious, did I ever mod the Arcade1up pinball to expose all the other pinball table games? I didn't. I was planning on doing it, and I knew I was going to sell it. And I was like, I want to play with it a little bit. So if you don't know about it, look into Team Encoder. Team Encoder has a hack where you can sideload APKs onto the Arcade1up Star Wars machine. There's a couple different modding options. I know Kong from Kong's R Us has a lot of videos on that, so you might want to check out his channel. But essentially how it works is there's an app that you need to install on your PC, and then you plug in through USB on the actual PCB. You don't technically need to remove the PCB. If you can get your computer, if you have a laptop, get your computer close to your pinball machine, and you don't have to disassemble it fully or anything like that, or take out the PCB if you can get it close to it. Anyway, USB, this thing mods it, and then you can push more games. So there's a total of 30 Zen games that are available on that Arcade1up, 10 per machine. And if you go to like archive.org and you find the other APKs, you can put them on there. And then I think there's a way where you can actually legit purchase from the Google Store more APKs from Zen, and then put those on there as well. So that mod's available out there. I never did it, but I researched it and was gonna do it. I just never got around to doing it. And ultimately, like if you guys don't know, like, we're gonna get into this. If you guys don't know about it, but in the last year, I've bought a lot of pinball machines, as you can see behind me. So kind of the gag of the short that I put together this short. I guess it was a short video, but people didn't get it. I was trolling. I was like, my wife told me I had to get rid of a pinball machine. Like, that was the concept of the video. But the troll was, it was just the Arcade1up, right? Like, the point is, obviously the full-size machines are worth a lot more, and then the Arcade1up is not worth as much. So I was like, well, I got to get rid of one of them. Which one is it going to be? I guess it has to be the Arcade1up Star Wars. No one got the joke. I'm sure there's like 50 people in the chat that are like, I got it. I totally understand you. I follow you. I know you this year. You bought, I watched all your podcasts all the way to the end where you talk about all the pinball machines that you bought. I don't just like scroll through and only read your thumbnails and your titles and assume only your titles and your thumbnails which is funny because I can determine who actually watches my content based on whether they know what's in my game room or not. I guess that would change if I actually did a game room tour. If I did a game room tour, you know what I have, but I'm just not interested in constantly making content that's bragging about what I got in my game room. A little shy about that, and it is what it is. But I realize I have followers that are interested in knowing what I do, so I'm trying. This year, I'm going to try to change. I'm going to try to make content that's like, hey, here's what's going on. Okay, I promised to get to the point, and I'm rambling on. So thank you guys for coming and hang out. I appreciate you all in the chat. But I have a lot of content to get to, so let me try to get to that, and you guys try to interrupt me in the chat, and we'll see how far I got. Okay, so this is one of the coolest things that I saw. It really made me laugh. This is, has anyone in the chat seen this? You have the ability to win a DVD. Now, I know the guy that actually won this. He's the guy that helped me out move some of the machines from my house to the auction. He's the one who actually who won this. And I told him to send me a picture. But I think I have another video on it. Let me show you. So this other video will actually show you kind of like how it works. So this is DVDs that are spinning around. Has anyone ever seen this at an arcade? I don't remember seeing this at an arcade or at a Walmart or anything like that. You press this button, right? And this thing spins around. And I learned, it took me a minute, right? Let me switch to this way. It took me a minute, but the little red dots have to line up. You'll see it right here. It makes more sense. So you press the button, and then that red dot has to line up with the green. And if it does, you're the winner and you'll get Meet the Fockers, right? But I don't know why. I was just blown away by this thing. And the guy that got it, he's like, he's going to put new DVDs in it, which actually is thinking maybe the old ones are good to have in here. I thought I was going to win. Check this out. Nope. No, I did not win. I bet the settings on this allow you to, like, say, you know, never pay out, you know, like, so I just decided to steal a DVD. I was like, they had them right there. I don't know why I'm trying to play this game. I can just steal them. Anyway, that's a joke. Okay, let's go to the next part. So let me run through some of the pictures of what they had at this auction. So some of the machines that they had were kind of in poor shape, and that happens from time to time at these auctions where the quality of it isn't very good. So some of these that are really low quality probably went for like $200. But there's a couple arcade guys that are operators that are there that I'm getting to know. I chatted a lot with Jay. I sold him my Simpsons, and we were telling stories, whatever. And he was saying, like, you got to look really closely at these machines because you might have a gem. And I bid against him on a machine, and I lost because I wasn't willing to go that high. And then he told me why he was willing to go high. And I'll show you that in just a minute. So some of these went for like $100, $150. And when I get to the one that I bought, I'll tell you. So they had some like Dig Dugs. They had 2 Dig Dugs there, and they went for... My daughter wasn't with me this time, so I wasn't able to, like, she helps me document like all the prices of what things went for, but so I'm just going by memory. Couple $100. None of the machines like this went for like $700 or $800. I'll show you the ones that went for a higher amount. They had some really crappy ones. Some of these went for $100. You know, they were like, you need to work on them. Xevious went, I think it actually worked. It has a sticker on this one. Again, there was the nicer Dig Dug. Galaxian, that Dig Dug I think went for above $500. The Galaxian was only a few $100s. But the Galaxian wasn't in the greatest shape. This Iron Man. We're going to have to go back to Iron Man because I bid on this. And I want to tell the story of me bidding on Iron Man. And we went real far on this Iron Man. If you don't know, this is a Vault edition that came out in 2014. But the original Iron Man from Stern came out in 2010. So there's a difference between the 2010 version and the 2014 version. But this is the Vault. And some of the people didn't know that. Like, the people that were bidding on it, I don't think they really knew it was a Vault. Like, I was talking to other people, and I was like, so how much do you think? Because I was asking people beforehand, how much do you think this thing will go for? And the price that they thought it would go for, they were talking about the non-Vault edition. So the Iron Man Vault, they only made $300. And it's kind of like the more premium version. Like, it's got the red T molding. It's got the entire, around that DMD, it's got all the color. And it's all bright and brilliant. And it was in pretty good shape. I wanted it if I could get a good deal. So I was thinking maybe I could get it. And I talked to my wife, what if I could get it for half price? She's like, do it. She's always in for a deal. I didn't get it. This isn't one I got, but I'll tell you about who I was bidding against and how much it went for in just a little bit. So these are Ants. He's a guy. He's probably in the chat later or comment before. We had a really great time. He sold, I want to say 5 or 6 Arcade1up machines. Why did he sell these Arcade1up machines? It's because he's upgrading to the deluxes. And so he just bought a whole bunch of deluxe, at least 3 or 4. He was kind of naming which ones he got, and I want to say it was about 3 or 4. And he still plans on buying more. He said, I'm a 3/4 scale guy, so I'm going to get the 3/4 scale machines. So he's not really interested in upgrading to XL machines. He really loves the deluxe. So basically, he was trying to get some of his money back on these machines. I want to say, yeah, all of these went for about $150 to $200, except for the Defender, which went above $200. And his minimum was $150. He was trying to get about $150 back on it. Yeah, people are buying 1-ups at the auctions. That's right. So keep in mind, think about it this way. If you want more 1-ups, maybe you're new to this community. Think about it this way, guys. Let's say that you are new to the home arcade community and you don't yet have a dozen 1-ups, but you want some. Maybe you should go look in your local area for local auctions, because I see them in good condition in my local area, and they usually go for $150 to $200. That's cheaper than what they are brand new right now, even with Black Friday deals. Now, for the people that are selling it, they're selling it maybe to get out of the hobby. Maybe, in this case, maybe they're upgrading to deluxe. And so they're like, you know what? Whatever. I played it for a couple of years. If I can get half my money back or whatever, I'm good. And so at least in my area, $150, $200, from a buyer's point of view, that's pretty good. Now, from my point of view, I didn't sell any one-up machines. I did the Star Wars, but I also knew who I was selling it to. I was going to go higher. I was going to I'll buy it back if I don't get 400. But Ryan Berger is a cool dude. I've known him for about 5 years, and he was literally standing next to me. And I'm staring him right in his eyes, 210. And he's all 220. I'm 230. So we keep on battling it out. And he gets nervous. He's getting nervous because I'm staring at him right in his face. And even the auctioneer is all there's no friends. He knows that we chat, because he knows we're friends. And he's like, there's no friends in the auction. And he's keeping on doing the bidding. And I was trying to kind of knock him out. But then he gave me this look come on, man, let me have it. And I was the empathy got to me. I was all right. I was and he looks at me are you going to let me have it? Because I bid and he's about to bid. And the guy's all will you go up to this amount? Whatever our final amount was. And I backed out. I went like this, take it. So he did a bid. I had the thought in my head. I could have been a dick move and been bid on top of it. And I was no, let him have it. Let him have it. And then he got it. So, I mean, I had thought about some of these prices. If my close friends reached out to me, I really want that machine. I give them a deal. If I don't really know the person at an auction or whatever, I'll bid it up or buy it back. But I'm starting to get to know some of the people at the auction. And it's kind of well, that guy, who's got kids, or I see him at Walmart or Costco all the time, or he's in the retro gaming space and he has a monthly magazine that you should totally subscribe to, and he wants my Star Wars pinball machine, I'll let him have it. Let him have it. Let him get a good deal. And afterwards, he looked at me and was like, "Hey, man, I really appreciate it because that's going to be a really good gift. That's gonna it for him and his kids. He's got a kid, And he's that's about how much I was willing to pay for it. So he's you brought me up to a pretty good price. So yeah, keep that in mind, guys. So when it comes to these machines, maybe when you're selling them, maybe you don't think that's $150 is pretty good, but from the buyer's point of view, and obviously the person is willing, at these auctions, if you're not willing to sell it, just bid it up and win it back. Do you know what I mean? If you don't want it to sell for $150, then keep on bidding it up until it hits your price. So, don't be afraid to do that at these auctions where they allow you to do that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to these because I've spent way too much time, and I'm really apologizing to people that were just, here it is. That Cruisin' Exotica is sitting right next to me, okay? You guys remember what we were talking about just a moment ago? I want you guys in the chat to make a guess. If you're thinking clearly, you could probably figure it out. This Cruisin' Exotica that's right here is the one that I purchased, the one that I won. How much do you think this Cruisin' Exotica is worth? Okay, in your opinion, what is it worth? Give me that number, maybe put a W and then a price. And then how much do you think I paid for it? Two different numbers. So W, let's say it's this number. P is what I paid for it. It's that number. Love for you to join me in the chat, and we'll talk about that just for a second. And then I got more stories we got to talk about. It's going to be really interesting, but I'm really curious to know how much do you think this Cruisin' is worth and how much I paid for it. And if you use logic, you can figure out how much I paid for it. I'm waiting for the chat to pick back up. So Carlos says, or Carl O. Carl O says it's worth $8.99, and I paid $6.99 for it. JJ says it's worth $1,200, but I paid $450. James Hates Everything says I paid $250. Hayden says it's worth $450. I paid $325. All right, that's pretty good. It's pretty interesting guesses. But remember, I traded an Arcade1up Star Wars pinball for this Cruisin' Exotica. I paid $285. So $285 is what I paid for this Cruisin' Exotica. Now, if you look close, I sent pictures to my man 19K Fox when I was at the auction. And there's probably a reason why. 19K Fox owns a Cruisin' World. And the entire reason why I purchased this is because of 19K Fox. And I'm going to show you. So 19K Fox says, not a bad price. So if I come over here, here's a video from 19K Fox. Notice closely, behind him, he has a Cruisin' World. It wasn't me just looking at 19K Fox's arcade and just like being jealous or whatever. And I told him this, it's up against that wall. And when he showed that off, that he was able to fit his Cruisin' up against that wall, it started to get me to think. I was like, wait a second, I have a wall. No, there's this, and 19K Fox has been to my house, so he knows what I'm talking about. Up against this wall in my house, hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna see if I can just like show you a video of it. Yeah, I think I can show you a video of, yes. This will take 1 second though. Come on. Okay. All right, so this is like a mini game room tour, I guess. Let me turn it. Just give me a second. This is what I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to show you my game room. This is right behind me with the lights on, a little lighter. We got the Star Wars Arcade1up. Next to it is a Chulix 32-inch multicade. And then there's this space in my basement that I haven't really been figuring out what I was going to do with it. And 19K Fox got me this really cool idea. Let me turn this down because I think it has audio in it. Okay, so there is the Star Wars, and then you got the Chulix, and then notice there's a wall, but then there's this little space where there's this extra wall. Now, that's a hallway that goes to the back of the house. And so you can't really put anything down that hallway because that's where you load and unload things. But then that's where like a little racer, a sit-down racer, can fit right there. So I currently have the dolly, like literally this is all just right next to me. So the dolly's in front of it. The chair is in the garage upstairs. That's one less thing I got to bring down. The buddy who helped me move this into the house, he I can get the seat by myself. It's a perfect spot. Look at that. It's up against the wall, and there's just a few inches on the side before the wall ends. So that's the door I'm pointing at. That's about, I want to say 10 more feet. It's like a 10-foot hallway I can't put anything there. It's to the back of the house. So this basement has a doorway to the backyard from the unfinished area, which is where I put my game room. And then inside the house, there's another door that goes to the backyard, but that's in the finished area of the house. And again, there's just this little spot that I could put I thought about putting some arcades there, but I could fit maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 Arcade1ups, but it's like perfect for a racer. And I think I show the camera. I don't end up showing the camera. Wait, no, it's this way. Yeah, right here on the floor. See, I can put that seat there, and bam, there's just enough space for the seat. And then behind the seat is then the seat for like a little stool for a Chulix. So it's just like perfect. I get a racer there. Now keep in mind, you could probably comment that, why did you get the Cruisin' Exotica? And it's not even like a real Cruisin' Exotica. I was talking to 19K Fox. He's like, dude, that's a conversion. Look at it. It's a Cruisin' USA. It's a Cruisin' USA. And even at that, I sent him the picture. He goes, at max, he would pay $500 for this. And it's got an LCD in it, right? But out of all of the machines that I'm fine with an LCD, definitely like a Cruisin', it's already going to be a little bit heavy, but now it's lighter. Now it's lighter. So I'm really excited about the game room. What I didn't show, so I got the Star Wars here. I got 1-ups against the kind of hallway before it enters into the real hallway. There's 1-ups there. Then there's more back there. And I think I do show off my pinball machine so you can see, like here is the Star Wars, and then here is the Chulix, which just kind of is a game changer for having that. It's a lot of fun. And then there, right across the way, is the 6, and I got a 7th pinball machine coming in a couple weeks. So I got the James Bond, I got Foo Fighters, Godzilla, Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Pinball 2000, and Revenge from Mars, Pinball 2000, all lined up here. It's just to my left as I'm talking to you guys. And then there's a little bit of space here, and I got the Space Invaders in this extra space here with the iArcade. That's it. That's it. Earlier when I was saying what else did I sell, it was I sold the iArcade. They call it, I was like sitting here going, what is this other machine that I sold? I don't know if you were watching from the beginning. I was sitting here going through all the things that I sold, and I was like, what's a 2 arcade? Well, I don't know what a 2 arcade is, but the 2 arcade is, let's see, I can't, it's not going to focus, whatever. The 2 arcade, it's the II arcade is what it is. Yeah, so I had the original iArcade, but I also have the gold, and the gold is moddable now with over Wi-Fi. You turn your PC into a hotspot. You download this app by Team Encoder that simulates the iArcade server, and then you point your iArcade at your computer Wi-Fi, and it thinks it's the Arcade One or the iArcade backend. Like it actually thinks it's the retail store, and then that will serve up games that it's saying to the iArcade it should be downloaded. Like a download request has been made for whatever games. It's games that you can totally sideload. So I'm looking forward to doing that on the gold. Now that the gold is moddable, I was like, and then I got Glenn's deck. I put Glenn's deck in the iArcade is my plan, and then I can sideload games. And then I have like a 19-inch that I could play like 4x3 games on, but then I also have the Chulix, which is like more of a sit down. I think between the two, yeah, Widow says, what? I didn't get the TPS report on the mystery faux iArcade server. Yeah, man, it's out there. Go check out B from Kong's R Us last Wednesday, I think. He did a live stream, his Level Up podcast, and he had Team Encoder on, and they explained the entire mod. I was going to talk to B about it, like, because I've been on live streams with Michael B and 19K Fox. They didn't know about it as well. And I was like, here's the thing, man. Not everyone watches all of our podcasts. But what they do always do is read our thumbnails and read, because I realized that, like, I have no thumbnails or almost no thumbnails and titles about what I buy. So when I talk to people about how I picked up this item, they're like, I have no clue. And I was like, you know, they would, if I want people to know, because it's contextual to the podcast, like, hey, there's this really interesting thing I want to tell you about this pinball machine that I bought. No one's going to click on it if no one knows that I have pinballs. Like, it needs to be, you know, it's almost like you need to make thumbnails and titles to provide context to the next set of videos, you know? So I was going to tell Kong, you need to, like, make a video that's straight up, it's been hacked, and just show the gold, right? Like, literally, like, make a thumbnail and a title that makes it super clear that the iArcade gold has been hacked. And so everyone in the home arcade community, for channels at the size of myself or B-Kong, they always see the thumbnails. They just don't always click on it. I know this because I go look at a video that I put out, and it says the number of impressions. You know, the number of impressions is how many people saw the thumbnail. But the amount of people that click on it is much less. I lost context in this community years ago. All right. Yeah, see, Paul's like, you got Glenn's deck? Yeah, I got. Do I need to make a thumbnail that's like, I got Glenn's deck? Evidently. And there's kind of funny, because just talking about drama just for a second, I go watch other content creators that make fun of me, and they're basically like, he doesn't have this. They're like talking about what I don't have. And I'm like, I do have those things. Like, I do. Like, I bought all that. Oh, he's not even a supporter of these products. I'm like, what are you talking about? I pre-ordered all that. Oh, it's because I didn't tweet it, and I didn't make a video on it, and I didn't brag about it every 5 minutes. And not that I'm calling out other content creators, but there is a difference between certain content creators that find the urge to constantly talk about all the things that they did. And I'm just like, I just want to tell stories, guys. I don't want to sit here and just like another pickup video. But I realize that's the game on YouTube, in the sense that I think that's what the viewers want. The viewers are interested in pickup videos. The viewers are interested in hearing about the things that you bought and sold. And even this video, you know, I'm like, let me talk about what I got. This is basically a I got a Cruisin' Exotica podcast. But I decided to pitch it with the I traded an Arcade1up Star Wars pinball for, because I find that interesting. It's like a little hook, like, oh, I'm really curious what he got. And let's go find out. Okay, so let's continue on with the show here. No, we're going this way. So we covered that. The Exotica. Okay, so they also had this machine, which this guy was trying to sell me afterwards. It went for cheap, $100 maybe. This one, I could make an entire video about this one. So this guy it's an Outrun, but it's running like an Android on it. And it was like these horse games, but the dude was like, he's made so many conversions. This guy Jay was telling me how he converts these machines to these Chinese Android boxes that play these games, and you go play it, and it's like this horse or pony going down the road, and it's really poor graphics. And it's like, why would anyone play this? And he was like, look, man, in my warehouse, I was babysitting my niece, and she'd come over, and she's like 4 years old, and I would load up this machine with this Chinese Android box or whatever that plays these like really dumb games, but the kids eat it up. He kept on telling me, he's like, they're so cheap, and he's like, you don't even need the foot pedal. It's just this crappy steering wheel, and there's a button in the center, and they literally had one at the auction, and you play it, and it's the dumbest phone game you've ever seen on an arcade. But he swears, he's like, look, you want to get a 4-year-old something to play in an arcade, blow their mind away with games, this is the box. It's like kind of JAMA with a couple pigtails on it, and you wire it up, you're good to go. Kind of looks like a Pandora's box, he was saying. Okay, anyway, so they had that. Those are the ton of one-ups. That basketball hoop, I think it was $5, I want to say. But it was huge. It's gigantic. You can't get it in your house. Yeah, it's Toxin. It's worse than Flappy Bird. Like, Flappy Bird is a cool game compared to these games. Let's see. I was bidding on some of these. They had a candy crane. Yeah, this candy crane. I was there till about $300, and then it does a 4-year-old have to stand on the box to play? Yes, speed-ups. Yeah, so the candy crane, it went too high. I can't remember. Was it $500 or $600? I stopped it around $300. There was a few people that were pretty determined to own it. And then that diamond picker up, that was like $800. I guess that earns a lot of money, they were saying. So, they were giving away some of these hockey machines, and I helped the guys pull it into their trailer. Yeah, those, I don't think they went for very much. I don't remember the sign. Let's see. Okay, so some of these went for a couple $100. CRTs, like $20, I want to say. Okay, and that's a picture of Tom. Okay, there's one thing I wanted to show you I talked about earlier. Let's go back to... Okay, so Metal Slug 6. That's Metal Slug 6 and in a Thomas Wave format. I was bidding on this one. It started out, no one was really bidding on it, and it was about 300. No, it was at like $50, $100. And I was in. I was like, it was like going once, going twice type of thing at around $100. And I was like, okay, I'm in 110. So they were doing like 120. And then in the end, it was just Jay and I. who I keep on talking about in the stream, that same guy. And he's bidding on it, and we're going back and forth all the way to about $350, and he's still bidding on it. And he's doing the thing like, I'm not going to stop. He's like, yep. And I was like, you know what? Go have it. And then when I backed out, Jay got it for, I want to say $350. So afterwards, I said to him, I was like, man, you own so many arcades. You're an operator. Why do you want this Metal Slug 6 so much? And he's like, look, man, is what he says to me. He goes, look, I look at things a little differently. A lot of operators come in here, or arcade owners come in here, and they look at something like a machine like that going, do I want to own that machine? How much would that machine earn, out, at an arcade? Is that going to just pump in a bunch of quarters? What Jay looked at, where am I at? I hit the wrong button. Jay looked at and said, that's got a Metal Slug 6 cart in it. That cart is worth $700-800. He goes, even if it's a clone cart, I already got my money back. So he was bidding up to the point where he could just take the card out and sell it. So what's cool is I was like, are you going to take the card out and sell it? What are you going to do with the actual machine? He goes, I don't know. Do you want it? I was like, I might. Like if you'll sell it to me for cheap, like I'll buy an empty cab from you, that because it was in really good shape. It's got like a 19-inch CRT in it. CRT is like it looked good, but those are like the 31 hertz, like a 480p screen. So it'll play like the Atomic Wave stuff. So it's like the newer stuff. So I mean, you could always, I'm sure those monitors also work with the older 240p signals. So you could probably put in like an MVS1 slot that you can get on AliExpress for like $30. Another $60, you can get like the crappy cart, mod it, make it a little bit better. There's like a more expensive cart that'll play SD cards from MVS. So basically you could have a dedicated Atomic Wave, but it's playing MVS games, kind of the older games like Metal Slug 3, 4, that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those type of eras. Or you could put a Pi in it or something like that, whatever. But if I could get it for like $100, it's like a multicade, whatever. But he just wanted the cart and then the actual artwork on top and bottom. But you could, I don't know, you could convert it to some other machine. That's what's really cool about those. They're kind of metal and plastic, and the actual artwork that's at the marquee. The actual marquee, hold on a second. The actual marquee, so JJ, it's ATOMIS Wave, not Thomas with a TH. So Atomic Wave, it's like a series. Basically, at a certain point, I want to say isn't it mostly like Sega? What is it? Sega and I'm trying to look at it right now. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. They took carts. It's similar to the MVS. So the MVS took carts. So the whole idea of like a Neo Geo NVS is that you can buy, it's almost like a console, and you can get those on AliExpress for like $30-40. And then you can buy the carts. Now the carts are expensive, like I was mentioning. Some of those are collector's items because they didn't make a lot of the carts, the actual games. And then at a certain point, they went from, I have loose knowledge on this. You probably want to talk to like an actual arcade expert about it. But at a certain point, they went from 240p to like 480p. Kind of think of like Sega Dreamcast era, like for consoles. It's like going from a Nintendo, or it's like going from a Super Nintendo technology, which is like 240p, to 480p, which is also like 15 kilohertz and 31 kilohertz when it comes to monitors. It's like they made that jump to higher resolution. And then I think those are all the Atomic Wave motherboards, but they're kind of like consoles because they take cartridges. You put a cartridge in them. Anyway, but those cartridges are worth money. And so, but I'm not really sure if the consoles are actually worth them. Like I mentioned, you go to AliExpress. Last I checked, MVS Neo Geo 1-slot machines, $35. They're cheap. Like I bought one and then put a multi-card on it, plugged it into a Neo Geo. It was great. Like I bought a Neo Geo in 2021. Yeah, 2021. That was empty. But for $70, I was up and running with every MVS game. And so this Atomic Wave machine, which is Metal Slug 6, is like the newer generation version of that. I could buy an empty cab and then just decide what to put in it. But I think most of the Atomic Waves, because they did a mod for the Dreamcast, which I have, a Dreamcast where you can sideload games onto it, and the Atomic Wave games are like Dreamcast-like, and so they'll almost run on a Dreamcast. And so someone came up with a patch that will patch the ROMs for the Atomic Wave, allowing the Atomic Wave games to run on a Dreamcast. So you can actually play Metal Slug 6, the arcade version, on a Dreamcast if you get the Atomic Wave ROMs that are compatible with a Dreamcast. Because it's just like they figured out how to patch some registers or something like that to be like, well, the hardware is almost the same except for these two things. So just talk to this part of the chip or that part of the chip instead of what the arcade expected, and then it worked. Something like that. It took them years to figure it out, but I don't know, about 2-3 years they figured that out. But so that's about all the knowledge I have of Atomic Wave. There's probably so much more knowledge in it, but the takeaway from me, the mental model is it's like Dreamcast quality, higher resolution games than the previous generations. So that's a fun story. Target Terror also Jay picked up. He picked up some good stuff. That had it booted up and it froze. Loading screen. Just loading screen. And I think he paid $50 or $100 for it. Like he was the only one that wanted it. So I said to him, why'd you pick up that machine? No one else wanted it. He's like, it's got a working CRT in it. That loading screen looked crisp. I was like, crap, what? He's like, yeah, it's a raw thrills machine with a perfectly working CRT in it. For some reason, the game is frozen. No one cares about Target Terror. But he was like, I'll throw a different game in it, swap out the artwork, and it's a $1,000 shooting cab. And I was like, man. And he even knows like what game is popular that you could find cheap that he could convert this cab to. He's like, man, you always got to be thinking about all the different parts of the machine that you're actually buying. Anyway, so I thought that was pretty cool. Let me show some more of the videos of some of the things I saw there. They had a Shinobi. Let me turn down the audio on this. So Shinobi went for pretty good. Couple $100, I want to say. Iron Horse, there was several people that were bidding on that one, but I don't think it went really high. The Special Criminal Investigation, didn't Fox pick this one up? I see this at the auction a lot. And yeah, so that one went for cheap. I almost bid on it because it was in the $150 range. But I didn't end up bidding on it. Let's see, let's play this video because what they have next to it is something I was bidding on. Okay, so they had an ice cold beer. And this was one of the last items to come in. Hit 1 in the chat if you've played an ice cold beer. Hit 0 if you have not. Don't be ashamed if you've never played it. Hit a 0. No big deal. I only played it for the first time a few years ago. But if you have played it, hit 1. Let's talk about ice cold beer for a little bit. Speaking of ice cold beer, let's have some ice cold beer. All right, we got some people in the chat saying, Paul, yeah, he's like, ice cold beer. Okay, while we're in the chat, how much is a brand new ice cold beer? Does anyone know the price? Because this guy, brand new, on the back of it says manufacture date was May 2023. This thing is basically brand new. How much for a brand new ice cold beer. A remake. Not the original from back in the day, but a remake that's available right now. Let's see if anyone knows that price. Paul, bam, $5,400. He's absolutely right. And for that, you win nothing. But yes, that's right, $5,400. So this is I played it. It's working perfect shape. Ice cold beer. It's a fantastic game. All right, guys, let's tell the ice cold beer story. So a $5,400 ice cold beer. He starts out with, who will give me $1,000? No one bites. Who's going to do $500? No one bites. $100. Someone bites. And we're very slowly climbing. I couldn't believe it. Let's see. It was, let me hear, $100. Now 200. No one bids. Finally, someone 200. Then 300, 400. Very slow. I get in around 600. When I come in around 600, it's me and one other person. That's it. I'm like 700. Like, do you hear 800? He does it. Do you hear 900? Yes. 1,000. It gets to 1,200, and I'm like, this is a $5,400 ice cold beer. I need to get this guy to drop. So I'm like, 1,500. Like, I jump it. Maybe I could scare this guy. But then I start thinking, is this the owner? Because remember, you can bid on your own items at this auction. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just bidding against the owner. And so then he's like 16, 17, and I'm like 2,000. Like when it comes back to me, I'm trying to jump him up. He's not going for it. So I'm like, I cool off a little bit. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. We're at 3,000 now. Just me and this other guy who's in front of me, who can't see me. I'm right behind him. But he just keeps on going up 100. But then the arcade auction guy is getting tired of just doing the single digits. So all of a sudden he jumps to 35. The arcade auctioneer jumps to 35. And then it's like, I think he was going to jump to $4,000. And I'm like, no. But he goes, with 36, with 36, like, would you do 36? I'm like, yeah. So all of a sudden we're at 39. And he offers me $4,000. And I'm like, nope. And that was it. I closed down at $4,000. Because keep in mind, even though I'm working with my business license here, my tax ID, they're not going to charge me sales tax and stuff. There's still going to be the buyer's fee. So $4,000 is not $4,000. It's $4,000 plus 13%. So you're going to add a few $100s on that. At a certain point, I'm just buying a brand new ice cold beer. See, it was a good deal up to that point. The moment, like, even I could go to my wife and be like, okay, I bought this ice cold beer for $3,500. It's worth $5,400. And $3,500 is what I've seen the old ones for used on Marketplace, and I think they go pretty quick at that price. So, I mean, $100, $500, $1,000, that's a no-brainer. And then I was just playing with him because I was like, he's not going to let this go. I walked away, and I was like, you just got to walk away from, if the deal's not there, you got to walk away. Yeah. So then, finally, let me tell the quick story of, it's very similar, I really wanted this, I really wanted this Iron Man. So with the Iron Man, this is the Vault Edition. How much is the Iron Man Vault Edition worth? Well, according to pinside.com, the low on this is $6,000, and the high on it is $6,900. Now, what I talked about earlier in the podcast, this is the Iron Man Vault Edition, which they only made 300 of. So it's a kind of like a limited edition run. The game is very fun. I've played it a few times, and it's got the I can't remember what is the starts with an M. The creature, it's like in Iron Man 1, right? Isn't it the Iron Man 1, You have to spell it. What is it? Does anyone in the chat remember? The Monger? Monger? Is that it? Yeah, so the Monger, am I saying that right? He's in the middle, and he comes out when you unlock. You got to like go around. There's like 3 spinners in this machine, so it's really fun. You can go to the left, you can go to the right, and up the center there's a target, and then you can get the Monger to come out, and then you got to bash the Monger. You know, there's a lot of rules to the game that I don't fully know, but that's like the main premise of it. And then Iron Man this machine is basically Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 kind of together. And yeah, the Iron Monger. Thanks, Blaze. So this game has a lot of the call-outs. I don't know if it is Robert Downey Jr., but it definitely sounds like Robert Downey Jr. I think Robert Downey Jr. is doing the call-outs on this machine. Anyway, it's been on my list. When I went to Chicago last year, I played it. And then I played it again in, was it Cleveland? I can't remember. But it's one of those games that's from the 2010s, 2015. There's another one, X-Men. X-Men is a lot of fun. Wolverine X-Men. Because they have this one, but this one has 2 magnets. So check this out, just to kind of talk about how cool it is. There's a magnet there, which it'll grab the ball when you're like trying to strike it and stuff. And if you like defeat it, I think. There's another magnet over there. It's got 3 spinners. So if you love spinners, you hit the spinner, it flies. And if you do it just right, you'll rack up a ton of points. And then it's got a couple ramps. So anyway, needless to say, it's a classic, older Stern. It's the Sam one. You know, it's not the new Spike 2s. It's not a Spike 1. It's like a Sam edition. It's got a DMD, but it's like a color DMD, and they had graphics back then, so you actually see parts of the movie in the DMD, but it's like the old school DMD. It's got the red trim, which makes it unique from the 2010 Stern. Anyway, I wanted to get it for a deal. Like, if I could pick this up for like $3,000, it's worth $6,000. Because here's the thing, at these auctions, you don't know what you're bidding against, who you're bidding against. Maybe they're like, I'm not a fan of Iron Man. Or they're just like, you know, these older Sterns are only worth $3,000 in their head. So that's what I'm thinking. So I'm bidding on it, and I'm around the $1,000, $2,000 area, and we're only going like $100 at a time. And my wife said, again, if I get it like half off or so, then, you know, I have her blessing on it, you know, if I can get a good deal. So I'm bidding on it, and I knock out everybody when we're around, I want to say $2,500. So I think I got this in the bag, right? And then all of a sudden, this Iowa pinball guy, I think it's Des Moines Pinball, or maybe it's iowapinball.com. He's an operator that I've seen, older guy, gray beard. If you know him from the area, I don't know his first name, but he's at every single auction, and he's always wears this hat that literally has an LED on it that just advertises the name of his company like over and over and over again. Silly looking dude, because he wears this hat that is like an advertisement. But I see his stickers at Up Down Bar. So there's a really nice arcade here in Des Moines called Up Down, which is downtown. And it's got like about 9 pins. I think it's got 6 downstairs and 3 upstairs. A lot of them in this era. It doesn't have anything new. It's all 90s pins. Yeah, I think it's all 90s. The newest thing they have is Star Wars and Avengers. So those are a little more recent, but everything else is like 90s pins. So this one is the Iron Man, and it's worth $6,000. And I'm bidding out at around $3,000, and it's just me and the Iowa pinball guy that like operates many of the local arcades, and he will not give up. And he's a weird bidder. And I know he doesn't own this, because I know this is Tom, who owns the auction. This is his machine, because I talked to this other guy, and he's worked on the machine for him. He goes, oh, that's Tom's machine, who owns the auction. And he's like, I've repaired it. I've worked on this machine. So I knew it was Tom, and Tom wasn't bidding, but this Iowa Des Moines pinball guy was bidding against it. It was just me and him, and we're going back and forth, and I take him all the way to around 45, And even I think I dropped out at $4,000 because it's worth $6,069, but there's gonna be buyer's fee on it. If I can get a good deal, I have my wife's blessing, and already at $4,000 I was pushing it. And I backed out. This other guy comes in, brings it up to 44. I come back in for one more bid, I think at 44. And I'm like, and I regretted it instantly. Like, that was a mistake. Like, I already passed my limit, and all of a sudden I came in for one more bid. I was like, come on, and then he came in and bid against me, and I was done. It was done. And him and this other guy battled it out, I think, to 48. And I was like, nope. I'm out. Let the Des Moines pinball guy win it. The guy with the weird hat. Let him win it. He did win it, 47-48. He even backed out and came back in because I think we all knew we were right in that this is not a deal anymore. Like, we could just wait for Pinside Marketplace and pick one up. They made 300 of them, so it is a little rare, but you could probably find. I've seen them on the marketplace before. I mean, the fact that they have the history on Pinside for 6,000 price, it's because of how many were sold in the last year, and I want to say 5 to a dozen a bit. I don't know. I have to check it. So I backed out. It was so much fun to play, though. No, I mean, like, to play the auction. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that I enjoyed bidding against someone up to the point where I knew there was a possible deal, especially while I was bidding. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, while I'm bidding it up into that 2000, 3000 era, it was fun. And then to know that I have a limit, and once I cross that limit, I need to walk away. Now, I had a moment of weakness because I started thinking, I was like, man, I was playing it before. It's in pretty good shape. It's a fun machine. They only made 300 of them. It's the best, they did make more of the previous model, but out of all 3 models, there's like a home edition that's kind of rare, but like no one likes the home edition. And then there's the standard edition that came out in 2010. And then in 2014 is the Vault edition. And I had an opportunity to get it, but sometimes you just got to let it go. It's like, what did we learn? Do you guys remember this? What did we learn from Indiana Jones? Indiana, let it go. And that's what I felt like. I watched that movie recently. It is so good. For the entire movie, Sean Connery is calling him Junior. Junior. What is it with this Junior? But finally, when Indiana Jones is holding on to his dad's hand and he's reaching his arms out and he's like, I can get the Grail. And he saw that, what's the girl's name right before that? Who she went for it and she died, right? Elsa, was that her name? Elsa? And then he's like, I can almost reach it, Dad. I can almost reach it. And finally, his dad looks at him and goes, Indiana? He finally calls him Indiana, the name that he prefers. And he looks at him, and his son looked straight into his eyes and was like, huh? Let it go. And he grabs his dad's hand, pulls him up there. That's what I felt like when I let it go. So I didn't pick up the Iron Man. I walked away with $1,500 cash at this auction by selling off some of my Legends pinball. Because, hey, Legends pinball, there's a 4K version one coming out. So sell that guy, and I know who I sold that to as well. He's going to PC mod it. I was kind of helping him disassemble it. A cool guy I've met twice now. And at the beginning of the show, remember I wrote down there was something scary. There's this guy. Let me tell you the story real quick. There is this guy at the auction. I got his number. We've chatted a few times. He's got an arcade out near Iowa City. He wants me to come by sometime and film it. He thinks it'd be pretty fun. But he says this to me. I was like, why are all these arcade people keep on buying more machines? Aren't they eventually running out of room? They're running out of room in their arcade, kind of like us, right? Like a lot of us are home arcade enthusiasts, right? So we have a home with limited space. But think about it, businesses have limited space too. But year after year, I see the same group of arcade owners coming to the Des Moines auction to buy more machines. And why? Are they selling the machines that don't earn anymore? And then they're buying different ones? And he looks at me dead in the face and goes, dude, don't you know? Arcades are where arcades go to die. When a barcade buys an arcade, that's the end of the life of that machine. They only go in, they never come out. And I'm like, what? He goes, that joust over there he was talking about a joust machine. Someone's buying the joust for parts for the joust they already own. These barcades have resurrected the arcade industry, but also they're destroying all the nostalgia that we love. I'm not saying don't support them, but that scared the crap out of me. This idea that kids and teenagers are coming in, or it's a barcade, so young people in their 20s, and he said they tear up these machines. They're destroying the sticks and the CRTs, the way they play them. And they got to keep on coming in and buy parts to keep them alive. It was literally the scariest thing I'd ever heard. So I realized, us home arcade enthusiasts, we are the preservers. We are the ones that are buying arcade machines and keeping them alive by not having crummy hands play them. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's wrong. But that's what he told me. And I believe it because I saw him buy a Pac-Man Cabaret. And I know that he already owns a Pac-Man Cabaret because that's what he bought at the last auction. And as he's walking away with the dolly of the Pac-Man Cabaret, he goes, well, between this one and the one I already have, I should have one good working Pac-Man Cabaret. And I'm like, oh my God, it's real. They don't multiply. They divide. These arcades are destroying our childhood. Okay, but what else can you do? They have to keep the nostalgia alive. They have to make arcades and get people to enjoy them, to destroy the things that we hold dear. There's nothing we can do about it. These things will eventually have an end of life. Enjoy them while you can. Go out to an arcade. Support your local arcades. Go to the auctions nearby. Support your local auctions. Buy Arcade1ups. Buy AtGames. Buy Unico. Bring everything into your home. Enjoy them. Just enjoy them. Because that's the one thing that can't be destroyed. Our joy and our love for these games. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for this podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.